Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily with Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to use the promo code FSD20 for a 20% discount on the products over at fantasyguru.com.
Well, just look who got all dressed up for the Thursday edition of Fantasy Sports Daily. No, I was talking about me, Ray. Not you, Ray.
Figures.
Yeah, I got a zipper. That's dressy on a Thursday.
Fair point.
Man, what got into you? Look at that jacket. You're like a Christmas tree this morning, Ray.
Yeah, well, I figured, and we've talked about this briefly on the show, we're actually not going to be on Christmas Day. So I figured I'd wear something nice today and something nice tomorrow, just as, because we're not going to be there. It seems wrong to be wearing it on the Tuesday, the day after. So you're getting it early, Kyle.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll get one as well, right?
Correct.
You got more Christmas coming our way. Okay,
got
good. I thought maybe you had just thrown the jacket because they had given you that when you booked your flight to Orlando. Because I saw the news yesterday, Ray, about the Pro Bowl coming up in February. It's in Orlando this year, not in Vegas. And Ray, they added all sorts of fun and exciting games. They what is this? They call it kick-tack-toe.
Okay.
Which sounds awesome.
Okay.
Dodgeball. They have a tug of war this year at the Pro Bowl. As soon as I saw this stuff, Ray, I knew you, even the curmudgeon that you are, you said, hell yeah, let's go to Orlando and let's watch the Pro Bowl in February, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't even know that these rules were enacted, Kyle. I got to be honest with you. So
yeah, I give them credit, Ray. They're playing Madden. They're going to have like the players do a Madden head-to-head at the Pro Bowl, something called the Gridiron Gauntlet. The tug of war, I'm into that, Ray. I think that's a cool one for football players.
That's the old school ABC, right?
Yeah.
Wide World of Sport. What did they used to call that? Why are I drawing a blank?
Yeah, the Wide World of Sports. Yeah,
but it was called something, wasn't it?
I don't know. The Wide World of Sports. Yeah. Tug of War? I don't know what they call it. I've always called it Tug of War. It didn't have another name.
Battle of the Stars. There you go.
Battle of the Stars.
Thank you, Triggerfinger. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good times. I remember that vividly as a kid. Yeah.
I wonder, does anybody over the age of 12 play Tug of War? Is that a thing?
I remember we did it in school, like in our PE class a couple of times for whatever reason. But I never once said with my homies, hey, grab that rope, let's pull. That was never something we did.
It's coming, folks. I saw on NFL Network this week that they are really pushing that you can get tickets to this event. So I don't know if you got a crazed kid who's into watching football. It's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's like 2 or 3 days of fun activities in Orlando. And then there's also that theme park, actually a couple of theme parks you could check out. So there you go. Ray Flowers, happy that the Pro Bowl is trying to attract eyes. We are happy to have your eyes or your ears, however you're consuming us, with us today on Fantasy Sports Daily. Kyle Elfrink here, Ray Flowers there. Big thank you to everybody who's in Facebook, the YouTube channel, X. If you download the pod, wherever you're at, it is great to have you alongside. And let it begin, Ray, week 16. This is a biggie, baby. This is, for so many, semifinal week. Some people, heck, might even be in a championship. I don't know. But it begins tonight. And a pretty good game tonight, Ray. We got the Saints taking on the Rams. The loser, well, I was going to say, Ray, the loser of this game is probably out of the playoffs, but I bet New Orleans could lose tonight. They could lose next week, and they could lose in week 18, and they still might win the NFC South.
It's spotty. Yeah. And this is going on a couple years now, right? Like, you play 500 ball, and it's odd to think you go into the season and legitimately think, if we win 8 games, we can win our division. But yeah, it's ugly, Kyle. Let's just hope it's not the Falcons.
Let's just hope it's not the Falcons. That's a good point. I think the Bucs and Saints, you can at least say, like, when you say playoff, you don't have to retch.
Yeah. Right.
With the Falcons, it's like playoffs, that team, Arthur Smith, so we'll see. We'll get you a Thursday night DFS preview on the show. Ryan Clifford is going to stop by. What else do we got today? We've got Jonathan Taylor news. Sounds like JT may be back in week 16. Unfortunately, that's the good news. Much like last week, we got a load of injuries. A lot of these are continuing injuries, though. So we will take you through the lengthy list as we sit here on a Thursday of who is questionable, if not downright doubtful, for week number 16. Mention Ryan stopping by to talk Thursday night football. We will preview game week 18 of the English Premier League, which actually begins later this afternoon. Ani Sridhar is going to stop in. And we'll sneak in some baseball. Sounds like the Padres have their new ninth inning guy replacing Josh Hader. And the Mets have made a trade for an outfielder and a pitcher. We'll tell you about that one. I mentioned Josh Hader, Ray. Yeah, I think we brought this up maybe yesterday, the day before. There's very little noise about guys like Blake Snell, Cody Bellinger. There's maybe even less about Josh Hader right now in free agency.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Hader is great, right? And he's great at his job. Now, he's pulled back a little bit, which is not surprising because he was historically great. Now he's just great. I think that there's been some concern, obviously, about some of the things he's done in his past. And there's also some concerns about the fact that, according to basically every report you see, he will not, N-O-T with a capital N, will not throw 2 innings. He will not. He's throwing 3 outs. He's getting 3. That's it. The manager have asked him he will not go in the 8th inning of a game. And you see that reflected in his innings pitch total, which are actually pretty low. So he'll get paid. There's no doubt about that. But I think a few teams, hey, it's September 25th. We got to win this game. I need 5 outs from you, Josh. Nah. Do you want that on your team? I don't know.
Well, Josh Hader is looking for money, no doubt. We are saving you money here at Fantasy Sports Daily. A couple of specials, Ray. We got FSD 2.0 and Ho-Ho. Since we're all in the spirit of the holidays, the Ho-Ho promo code is also still available, correct?
Correct. Ho-Ho is for all the football product, seasonal, DFS, and wagering through the Super Bowl. So you've been knocked out, you're not playing anymore in your seasonal. Join us. Use the promo code Ho-Ho. That gets you all the DFS. That gets you all the wagering. That also gives you advice on football leagues, fantasy playoff football leagues that Kyle and I have done for years. The FSD 20 gets you the discount on any product, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, hockey, any of the products we have, soccer. FSD 20 is for that. And we also have gift certificates. Kyle mentioned this the other day. We do have gift certificates. If you want to give a gift to a friend, which is the gift of winning in fantasy sports, send them over to fantasyguru.com. Click the Join Now tab in the top right corner, or use the links you see there in the PDF.
And what finer gift could you get for Christmas or the holidays than the gift of winning your fantasy league? I like how you put that, Ray. The gift of winning. We're going to make you a winner the whole year long. As Cousin Eddie would say, it's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year long. Okay, let's dig into it. We usually like to start with the news and what's going on, but we've got a very busy chat room already, and I know it's an important week, so let's hit a couple of these right off the top, including one that deals with Thursday night football. Looking at Matthew Stafford. Where is this? Slim Shady. Does he go with Stafford tonight, or does he wait for Joe Flacco this week? And he could also, Ray, take a look at Gardner Minshew. So this is a question a decision, I guess, we got to make this afternoon with Stafford playing tonight at 8:15. Stafford, Flacco, Minshew, welcome to semifinal week at your QB position.
Yeah, it's so funny too, isn't it? When you pull back, like Minshew wears jean shorts, Joe Flacco's 89, and Matthew Stafford's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Like
Joe Flacco's shorts are pulled up to his chin. He's an old guy.
He would not be seen in such a beautiful coat as I'm wearing now. I think it's Matthew Stafford, and I either said this on our show or yesterday on the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Mans. I don't remember which one. Sorry. But I said, look, if you've got a question at quarterback and you've got Matthew Stafford, just play Matthew Stafford. Flacco and Minshew are nice stories, and they're acceptable options this week. But Stafford's on a nice roll. The matchup is not a scary one. He's got his weapons. They're all healthy. Puka, Kupp has finally reemerged. They got Tyler Higbee back last week. Kyron Williams has been killing it. Just play Matthew Stafford. I'm totally comfortable going Matthew Stafford as a top 10 quarterback this week, and easily the best of these 3 options.
I see Jamil in here. He's got Stafford, Minshew, Mayfield, or Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence is in concussion protocol. It kind of sounds like he's trending towards playing. But, Ray, is that Stafford as well? I mean, you just called him a top 10 guy. Is he ahead of all those dudes as well?
Minshew's Minshew. And, as Kyle has correctly pointed out previously on the show, he's a game manager. And let's not forget, as of right now, we don't anticipate Michael Pittman playing. And Michael Pittman is not just a guy in the offense. Michael Pittman is just not wide receiver 1 in the offense. He catches 8 passes every game. every single game. He has the most 8 catch games in the NFL, more than Tyreek Hill, more than. So his loss is a big one for that offense. So Minshew is like quarterback 18, 20. Like he's not someone anyone should be starting. Mayfield is a little bit better, but again, don't chase the 380 and 4 touchdowns. And like Kyle said, with Lawrence, we don't know if he's going to play. He's in concussion protocol. So yeah, it's got to be Matthew Stafford of those 4, Kyle.
You see those defenses, Jamil asking, Denver, Buffalo, Green Bay, Cincinnati, all of them are in great spots, like really good spots. Denver's home against Bailey Zappi and the Patriots. Buffalo's on the road against Easton Stick and the Chargers. Green Bay is on the road against Bryce Young and the Panthers, and Cincinnati is on the road against, probably Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. I might go Green Bay here, Ray. And this is defensive bingo at its finest, Ray. Green Bay defensively was embarrassing last week. Like they could not stop. Baker Mayfield lit them up like a Christmas tree. But Ray, I love going up against Bryce Young. I love going up against Carolina. Now, again, all 4 of these teams are in great spots. You can dream up a scenario for any of them. But Bryce Young, to me, is very prone to throwing picks that go the other way. He had like a streak of 3 straight games where he had thrown a pick 6 or something like that. I'd probably go Green Bay, but honestly, get me a 4-sided coin. I'll take any of these teams this week. Yeah,
I agree with Kyle. They're all good options. I would go with the Bills. You look at the Chargers right now. Don't know if Keenan Allen's playing. We know Mike Williams isn't playing. We don't know what's going on in the backfield. They can't run the football. They're down to Easton Stick, who's not good. All these options are on the table. I think the Bills are surging. I'll go with the Bills, but I would have Green Bay second, to Kyle's point.
Got a PPR question from Neil, tight end. Ingram or McBride? To me, this isn't even a question, Ray. This is McBride. I mean, McBride is just killing it. Absolutely. He's been like the top tight end for 4 or 5 weeks now. I mean, there's no way, Ray, that I'm bailing on Trey McBride. You can't at this point.
Well, in our rankings over at fantasyguru.com, we've got Evan Ingram ahead.
Really?
And this again, the rankings right now, and again, it's Thursday morning. The rankings right now are predicated on Trevor Lawrence playing. Okay, because Jeff Mans, we talked about this. Jeff Mans firmly believes he'll get cleared from the concussion because he's the golden boy. He'll get cleared regardless versus some other guys that might not. If we're going CJ Beathard, I'm not going Ingram. Okay. I'll go with Ingram right now, but this is a debate I've had too. And Kyle and I were talking about this earlier. I'm in the Elite Sports Listener League, and we've got multiple flex spots. I might have Trey McBride on the bench this week, and I hate that because I totally agree with Kyle. He's catching 6 or 7 passes every game. He's been away for 6 weeks. Yeah. So again, I'm going Ingram, but McBride is tight end 6. So they're both playable, and they're playable with a bullet.
I love McBride. I mean, I'd only sit him if I had Kelsey, Hawkinson. That's it for me. I like him that much. Earlier, this came in before the show even started, but it kind of deals with Arizona. Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, or Jordan Love. Geno's not cleared. I think he's going to play. Sounds like he is. I am not feeling Kyler on the road at Chicago. I'm not feeling that matchup. I think we brought this up earlier in the week, or maybe it was last week when talking about Chicago. Joe Flacco could have thrown 6 interceptions last week, and the Bears' defense for the season is very lowly rated. For the last month and a half, they've been really difficult. For whatever reason, a lot of people say, "Oh, Matt Eberflus is now calling the plays." I don't like Kyler on the road. I don't like him in Chicago. That's a late game, by the way, on Sunday. Colder, darker, Chicago-ier, if you will. Jordan Love's going to be my call here, Ray, against Carolina on the road. Jordan Love, how about that? That's where I'm going with this one.
Well, and again, this is part of the issue, too, with McBride or Ingram. I see this game as a rough one as well for the Cardinals, which is why Ingram is slightly ahead in the rankings. I think the addition of Montez Sweat has made a big change, too. The defense of the Bears, and this is in my matchup article that just went up over at fantasyguru.com. The Bears, the last month against the quarterback, are 27th, meaning there's only 4 other teams that are allowing fewer points than them. So this is not a good matchup for Kyler Murray. He is someone that is, I got to go. I'm going with him. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
Geno Smith is someone I'd actually play over Kyler Murray if I knew he was playing for sure, because the matchup with Tennessee is a very good one. But I agree with Kyle. At the end of the day, I'm going Jordan Love. And I think we all can quibble with, some mistakes Jordan Love has made and where he's at moving forward and all that. But of these three, he's the best option this week, even with the uncertainty of the receiving core right now with the Packers.
Yeah, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, neither of those guys practicing on Wednesday. I would say Watson's almost certain to be out. Jaden Reed's dealing with a toe injury. We'll see there. And again, the list of guys with DNPs, very long. Tyreek Hill, CJ Stroud, Keenan Allen, let's see, Brian Robinson, Alexander Madison, Zay Flowers, Marquise Brown, Stevenson, Collins, Henry, Levis, Zay Jones, like on and on and on. There's a load of guys missing. We do have good news, though, Ray. Jonathan Taylor is practicing in full, and already we've had some questions about Taylor and, trusting him. Here's the thing, Ray. Jonathan Taylor's out there. Jonathan Taylor's in my lineup. And I get it. You may not have trust. That's kind of a different word, the definition for it. But to me, Jonathan Taylor, if he's playing, he's getting the rock. They're paying him to get them to the playoffs. Yeah, he's getting the rock. I'm not playing guessing games there. I may get screwed over. Maybe they'll use him who'll get 6 touches. But I find that really hard to believe. That percentage chance of happening has got to be below 15%. Mm-hmm. If he's going to play on Sunday, and it's trending that direction, he practiced on Wednesday. I think he's good for at least 15 touches. And I don't bench guys ever who are getting 15 touches as a running back.
And remember, too, they got to win. This is, they're playing for something here. And I agree with Kyle. I think Jonathan Taylor's top 20 running back this week. He's clearly the only option that you really want to turn to. We don't even know if Zach Moss is going to play at this point. Yeah. People that added Sermon or Goodson, you blew money on Fab because Taylor's going to play. I think the word trust is one that I see, or terms like it, I see a lot. But let's be honest about this. And I just pulled up the top 20 guys at running back. Do you trust right now Travis Etienne? He hasn't run for 60 yards in 6 games. Do you trust him? Yeah. Does anyone trust Derrick Henry right now? 33 carries for 45 yards last 2 games. Do you trust Derrick Henry? Bijan Robinson. Do you trust Bijan Robinson? Yeah. And so, Breece Hall, Kyle's talking. This offense is horrible. Unless Breece Hall's catching 6 passes, there's nothing there. These guys are top 15 running backs this season, and I wouldn't say I trust any of them this week. So, the word trust is one that is hard to earn, and it's even harder to hold on to.
Yeah, and when he came off the 4-game sit down, it was very slow for Taylor to kind of get up to speed, which made sense. He was getting back into game shape, in effect. This injury raised a broken thumb. Mm-hmm. It's, in effect, a healed bone. He's probably going to have some sort of wrap on it. I think if he's playing, he's going to be used like Jonathan Taylor
Agreed.
should be used. So I would take that chance. You mentioned Zach Moss dealing with a forearm. He had a DNP on Wednesday. Vegas sounds like the Raiders, who play Christmas Day. It's a 1:00 kickoff against Kansas City. Josh Jacobs looking like he will be back for that game. That's a tough one, Ray, because, again, it's late in the week. Mm-hmm. It's one of the final 3 games on the slate. It doesn't play till Monday, so you're not going to be really certain that Josh Jacobs is out there if you want to wait around for him. And beyond that, this matchup, this Raiders team is, I get it, 60 points last week, but, Ray, to me, they're going to struggle to get 20 against the Chiefs, which sounds wild when they just scored 60-plus points, but they're playing a team that actually is playing for something instead of a team like the Chargers that has quit. So that one's tough with Josh Jacobs. It sounds like he'll be back, but I don't even know if that's a surefire play for Week 16.
Well, I'll say this, okay, and I've said this previously, right? This is why you handcuff. And for all the people that don't believe in handcuffing, you are seeing last week and now this week why you have to do it. Even if you don't do it on draft day, you have to do it in the course of the season. Because I'm anticipating Josh Jacobs playing. He may not play. At the last minute, they might say no. We might get contradictory information. He might not be active. And if you only have Josh Jacobs, you can't wait. Mm-hmm. If you got Zamir White, you can wait. Because if Jacobs is out, Zamir White will be in there, and he's okay. He's fine, right? We saw it last week. So you give yourself the out of waiting. At this point in time, if we don't get, and it's Thursday morning, if we don't get a definitive in the next 36 hours or even the next 24 hours, because we got all these games tomorrow. Yeah. I don't know how you wait. It's really tough. So if Jacobs is active, and again, I anticipate him being active, I don't know how you look at him and think anything other than he's a top 20 running back. So he's a play, because I don't think they'd have him active to the Jonathan Taylor conversation, Kyle. I don't think they'd have him active to take 8 touches. But it is dangerous because of the time the game is being played.
One thing you could think about, and this is going for the people who don't have Zamir White, but you got Josh Jacobs, is the other 2 games on that day. We have the Giants at Philly, Baltimore at San Francisco. You can make the argument, Ray, the Philly guys, you could take a shot on Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, kind of having them in reserve. Justice Hill with Baltimore might not be a terrible idea. Even Mason, perhaps, with San Francisco, So those are not good solutions. I'm not telling people that's the way you want to do it, but those are possible solutions if you're really going to wait around for Jacobs. You would, and even with Kansas City, Ray, he's probably been picked up, but if somebody has now dropped McKinnon or Clyde Edwards-Helaire because Pacheco is back, that's another option you could look at for that day.
It is. Now, as Kyle said, to reiterate, this is not a plan you should be enacting. This is break the glass because the house is on fire, right? Like this is, but it is better to get 6 points from Gainwell or Hill than it is to get a 0, obviously. So those are options, but you have to weigh that when you're making the decision of how to set your lineup this week.
Not great options, but again, options for this crazy week, which begins tonight. And think about this, it won't end until Christmas Day has become the 26th of December. It's that kind of long week with games spread all over. Just to reiterate, we got 1 game tonight. We got 2 games on Saturday. We got the usual slate on Sunday, which is Christmas Eve. And then we have 3 games on Christmas Day/night, including the biggie between the Ravens and the 49ers. Now, speaking of the start of Week 16, let's dig into the matchup tonight. The Saints are visiting the LA Rams. Both teams are still contending and fighting and clawing for a spot in the NFC playoffs. In fact, I've seen a lot of people have the Rams ranked as like a top 10 team right now in the NFL. They've been looking good over the last month. Ryan Clifford is back with us here on Fantasy Sports Daily. You can catch his column, which should be up in the next hour or so. He will be breaking down the entire DFS landscape for this showdown slate between the Saints and the Rams. He is with us for a preview today. Ryan, good to see you. Welcome back.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Going well. This Rams team has improved. It's not one that immediately, Ryan, we think, oh, that's a really good offense, but it's hard to argue with the results over the last month or so. It's almost like everything is clicking for the Rams: quarterback, running back, wide receiver. About the only problem, I guess, is tied in with this offense, right?
Yeah, they're a fun offense to watch. I heard Andrew Whitworth give an interview where he kind of compared them to the 49ers, more like a poor man's 49ers, but they've got all the same type of pieces, the 2 big wide receivers, the big running back. Kyron Williams actually just passed McCaffrey for the most rushing yards per game this season. So, yeah, a lot of pieces there. I really like these showdown slates because the captain pool is so narrow. So much of the offense goes to just a few players. I think looking at my projections today, just about 2/3 of every Rams offensive play is going to either be a Kyron Williams rush or a target to Williams, Cup, or Puka Nacua.
Ryan, let's talk a little bit about Matthew Stafford. I've gotten questions this week. I'm sure you have. We had questions earlier on the show today. Those are dealing with the seasonal piece. But let's talk about him in the DFS game tonight. What are you expecting from Stafford? And are you willing to pay that price, which is high this evening?
Yeah, I was looking at that matchup a bit. It's interesting because the Rams, their offensive line, has been playing really well. The Saints have not been generating really any pass rush. But you look at fantasy production, the Saints are 3rd best in the league at limiting fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So that kind of makes me hesitate a little with Stafford. I think for showdown purposes, definitely not a captain option. I looked back. He has 4 optimal captain appearances since 2021. All 4 of those came in that 2021 season. I think that was the Rams Super Bowl season. So he won't be a captain candidate for me today, but I don't mind the Rams pass game. I like Cup and Nacua. Probably going to shy off a little of Stafford with the pricing.
Ryan, we've got on DraftKings, Cooper Kupp's $11,000. Puka Nacua is $9,600. Talk to us about those two in a little bit more depth, and which way with those two guys would you be leaning for your lineup this evening?
Yeah, I always seem to get this one wrong. So whatever I say here, do the opposite. But, Nakua had if you look at the kind of first half of the season versus the second half of the season, it's kind of a no-brainer. This is Cooper Kupp. The classic Cooper Kupp. I think he's the clear wide receiver one here for the Rams. Nakua is a distant second. Looking back at numbers from the first half of the season, they look a little bit closer when you're looking at kind of the full season. But I think, Kupp is a clear favorite for me tonight.
Ryan, with names like Kupp, Stafford, certainly on the other side, Kamara, Olave, it's kind of a surprise Kyron Williams is the most expensive captain's call for tonight. But you talk about looking at the numbers. I mean, he's damn near a guarantee for 25 touches. That's how he's being used in this offense right now.
Yeah, he's getting Christian McCaffrey level usage. The production has been there. You look at the Saints defense they seem to limit the quarterback. I think, Kyron Williams to me makes a lot of sense. He's my favorite captain for sure from the Rams side. I like the matchup a lot for Williams. He's just for the mere fact that there's really nobody behind him that he's a bell cow back, and it's a rarity in today's NFL. But he's on the field 80, sometimes 90, 95% of offensive snaps. So the volume is just unmatched with Williams for sure.
Compare and contrast him, if you would, Ryan, to Alvin Kamara on the other side. Obviously, both these guys, two of the top three in terms of price point. Much like Kyron Williams, all the work is going to go to Alvin Kamara, including the passing work out of the backfield. What are your thoughts of the running back of the Saints?
Yeah, the Rams are number one in the league against pass-catching running backs as far as fantasy points go, PPR points. Jamal Williams is there. Jamal Williams, he's getting a lot of carries. It's definitely more, I don't want to call it a split, but I wouldn't consider Kamara to be that bell cow workhorse back that Williams is with the Rams, because Jamal Williams is getting some work. Kendry Miller is probably going to be back tonight. Don't know that he's really going to see the field much, but the matchup doesn't look great for Kamara for me tonight. I'm definitely shying away from him in favor of Olave on the Saints side.
Okay. Olave also, we should note, pretty well cleared to play, so he should be back out there after missing last week. One last thing for you, Ryan, and then we'll let you on get ready with your Thursday and finish up the column and all that. Tight ends, the Saints give us a couple that are fairly cheap, and when you're going cheap at tight end, and you don't have to have a tight end, and I may say these names and people are like, why would I have them in a showdown? But Juwan Johnson and Jimmy Graham are both pretty cheap, and they're kind of the perfect touchdown or bust pick. I mean, Jimmy Graham, for what it's worth, it helped me rate. Was it 4 touchdowns on 6 catches this year?
8 or 9. Yeah. What is it? Maybe it's 9 targets. Yeah.
So I wonder, those kind of flyers specific to tonight. I doubt ownership's going to be anywhere on those two guys. Do either of the two guys interest you at all?
I think Foster Moreau is the guy that I'm most interested in there. He's getting the most work. He's probably going to get the least ownership out of those two, and throw Taysom Hill in there, who's, tagged as a tight end on DraftKings. Foster Moreau has really stepped up to, he's getting the most snaps. He's getting more targets than a guy like Juwan Johnson. Jimmy Graham really is just kind of the red zone specialist that they're throwing in there. Talk about a boomer bust guy. That's definitely a Jimmy Graham. Foster Moreau for me is the top Saints tight end. Probably not going to play much Juwan Johnson, as he's just not seeing the field much anymore. So Jimmy Graham, more of a punt play. I'll have him in some lineups, but nothing special there.
Graham going for a streak of touchdowns in 4 straight. It's usually 1 catch a game, by the way, for Jimmy Graham, but lately it's been a touchdown, and he's been open a lot in that end zone. Column will be up soon at fantasyguru.com. Ryan handles it each and every showdown slate for Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday next week. What's the plan there? Are you doing a specific Ravens 49ers, or am I breaking news to you? And we'll find out next week, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on yet with that. Last time we had multiple games, I did kind of a main slate right up for both of the games. So that's probably where we'll go.
Yeah, well, no finer way to spend your Christmas Eve and Christmas morning than putting together those write-ups. Thank you, NFL, and thank you, Ryan Clifford, for helping us. Ryan, a pleasure, man. Good luck with everything. I know you'll be in Discord. People can find you on Twitter, of course, but we will talk to you next week, okay? And
right,
Merry
take
Christmas
care,
if we don't catch up to you before that.
Happy holidays.
Yep, Ryan Clifford hanging out with us here on Fantasy Sports Daily. And so we get going tonight, Ray, 8:15 for the Saints and the Rams. And I don't know, you buying all this hubbub about LA? Or are you feeling what people are selling with the LA Rams of they've figured something out and maybe they're not unstoppable, but they're a very strong offense? I'm still kind of struggling with it just a bit with LA.
Well, it kind of helps if your number one wide receiver and your number one running back are on the field and healthy.
Helps, yeah.
Kind of a good start. I mean, the Rams are, I have been critical at times of Sean McVay, but, I think the more I've dug into this and looked into it, like one thing McVay does really well is I think he puts his players in position to succeed. And there's a lot of NFL head coaches that we've talked about this on and on, that I don't know if they do. If I'm not mistaken, this was last week, but if I'm not mistaken, I still believe it's accurate to say that Kyron Williams, who we heard Ryan just say, leads the NFL in rushing yards a game, who's getting 100 yards from scrimmage. He's getting a touchdown every game. This is just happening. I think Kyron Williams has faced the fewest 8-men-in-the-box defenses in football. Wow. And this is with the quarterback who, until the last 3 or 4 weeks, was throwing for 197 yards and a touchdown each week. Like nothing was happening. All they do is run 3 wide receiver sets. And they have the tight end, and they spread the field out, and they make defenses make decisions. And I think that helps. So it gives them players space to make plays. So I will give him credit for that. And again, when these guys, I have this question. Can Matthew Stafford stay healthy through a playoff run? I don't know. That dude is tough because he gets blasted every week. That offensive line has struggled. Am I buying it? I wouldn't want to face him in the playoffs if they got there, but I'm not buying that they're better than the Eagles, the Niners, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Rams favored by 4. Game total in this one, 45.5. Again, 8:15 is the kickoff there. We've got a few questions in the chat room that kind of align with this Thursday nighter. Steven is looking for a wide receiver and a flex. This is in a non-PPR. He's got 4 guys. Puka Nacua playing tonight. Amari Cooper, Javonte Williams, and Ramondre Stevenson. He has it, health permitting. I kind of see Stevenson as doubtful.
I wouldn't plan on him playing.
Yeah, I don't think you're waiting around really on that decision. So it's probably 2 of 3. Amari Cooper, Ray, is not necessarily in the clear. I haven't seen anything on Cooper for this week. I would assume he's out there. He's always dealing with something, but he usually plays. I think Cooper's got to be on the field. So I think Cooper is one of my guys. And then, Ray, it's Puka or Javonte Williams. I'm kind of feeling Javonte Williams ever so slightly here with the idea that Denver has a matchup that should play into their hands of running the football. They're playing New England. In general, you don't have to worry about the Patriots scoring even 3 touchdowns. So again, Ray, this kind of lends itself to, you think, game script and paying attention to the scoreboard, kind of a running attack for Javonte Williams. And for Puka, if this were PPR, I'm probably going his route, but non-PPR, I think I'll go Williams and Cooper.
This is a very tough call. It's a good question because of that. I think that Javonte Williams, despite not being a touchdown guy this year, I think Kyle diagnosed that correctly, so he is in. The second call is more difficult. Puka, and we heard Ryan mention this, Puka's not been the same guy since the start of the season. And, you can look at the numbers. I think it'll be in my article tomorrow, the Coffin Corner piece at fantasyguru.com. Drastically different. Drastically. Like maybe it was last week. We went from 18 points a game the first 7 weeks to 12 points since.
Yeah.
Like a huge change. And if you look at the matchup, this week, you see a defense that is pretty good the last month. They've allowed 1 touchdown to wide receivers and the second fewest points. So they're trending in the right direction. That being said, I'm still going to go with Puka over Cooper. Cooper, to me, like you said, Kyle, he's banged up. And he's going to catch his 4 or 5 passes, and he'll get you his 70 yards. But I have an uneasy feeling about Joe Flacco. Like you said earlier in the show today, he almost threw 5 or 6 interceptions last week. We're seeing a massive volume going to David Njoku at the tight end position. So I'll leave Cooper out of those 3.
We've talked a lot about Stafford. for tonight. Here's a question about Derek Carr. David wondering, Derek Carr or Gardner Minshew? And Minshew had the very good game against Pittsburgh last week, and I guess that's why people are now kind of gravitating towards him, because it's a very what have you done for me lately kind of question, because overall Gardner Minshew's not been good this year. And outside of that game against the Steelers, which they won 30-13, outside of that game, it's pretty evident that this year when the Colts win a game, it's not asking Gardner Minshew to do much of anything. They like to have him at 180 to 200 yards with one TD pass. Because for the Colts, their offense runs better when they don't need Gardner Minshew to win them the game. He falls into mistakes. Now, again, last week was outside the norm. But if you look at this season, his numbers are better when they lose because they're playing catch up and they're trying to, than when they win. I bring all that up, Ray, because this week they're up against Atlanta. That's kind of a 50-50 tilt. Who's, I think, gosh, even the Falcons are favored by a point. But to me, I just see more numbers with Derek Carr. And I'm not a Carr guy, but I think tonight he'll be passing plenty. I think he's getting to 35 passes tonight. I don't know if Minshew's getting to 30 in his game. I'm going to give the edge to Carr this evening. He's going to be my start.
Yeah, I think this is another one of those calls that if we're looking at the calendar this week, I think you almost have to go Derek Carr. I said this earlier, I'll repeat it. Michael Pittman is as important as a pass catcher to his team as any wide receiver in football. End sentence, period. And we don't know if he's going to play. Josh Downs hasn't done anything forever. Alec Pierce is not a guy that can take volume. They're welcoming back Jonathan Taylor in this game. This game flow could be very slow. It could be 23 touches for Jonathan Taylor, right? And that slows the passing game down too. So I think you got to go Derek Carr. It'd be different if we knew Pittman was playing. I don't know if Pittman's playing right now. He got a concussion last week. Most guys don't play through a concussion. I'm going to go Derek Carr.
Got a couple of questions that came in here just in the last minute or two. And I don't think we mentioned Kenneth Walker missing practice yesterday. So his status is a little unclear. So, Chuba Hubbard, Kenneth Walker, the thing with Hubbard, Ray, it's pure quantity. Mm-hmm. That's the play on Hubbard. And unfortunately, he's getting quantity, but the team is so bad and touchdowns aren't really there. You're hoping, with Chuba Hubbard, Ray, a good game is I got 90 total yards. I got 75 rushing. I got 15 or 20 receiving, because touchdowns just have been so hard for the Panthers to come by. If Walker's playing, I find it hard to say no to him. I find it really hard and to go with somebody like Hubbard in that Panthers offense. So I'm going to lean Walker, but honestly, it's Thursday and we got to see where Walker stands come Sunday.
Yeah, Walker, my assumption is he's going to be okay and play, but he was added to the injury report yesterday. Chuba Hubbard, has gone 22-80 the last 3 games, right? Which is, he's basically become their offense. Adam Thielen has taken a Puka Nacua to the next level. He's vanished from the offense because defenses know all we got to do is cover this guy. Kyle and I were joking earlier. Jonathan Mingo gets 6 or 8 targets a week. He catches 2 balls for 22 yards. This offense is really bad. We've talked about it a lot. I'll go with Walker, even though yardage league too, because as Kyle pointed out here, I don't think either one of these guys, Hubbard or Walker, is a guy we expect to rip off an 80-yard touchdown run. But I don't expect the Panthers offense to work. Yeah. So and even last week with everyone all in the Charbonnet and all Charbonnet, he had 4 touches and Walker had 22. I'll go with Kenneth Walker.
Bensky was asking about Keenan Allen or Chris Godwin. I don't think Keenan Allen's playing this week. That's my gut read.
Why do people keep asking questions about injured players? This happens.
Ray, you're supposed to know this stuff.
And I know people know I don't take start and sit on to Wednesday, and I'll get a question at 4 a.m. on a Wednesday about. It's I don't know. Kyle and I don't know if Keenan Allen's playing. Yeah. How can we answer if this question? It's Godwin, 100%. Yeah. We don't know if he's going to play. He didn't play last week. He was
limited, I think, yesterday, Godwin, but he should play. I think. I guess it's a question if they both play, but honestly, Ray, I'd still go Godwin because Keenan Allen, okay, let's say he plays. He could very well be a decoy. He could very well be out there for 10 snaps. He's working with Easton Stick. I'd still lean Godwin, even if I'm not going to call it unthinkable, but the unexpected happens with Keenan Allen playing.
Yeah, and that's why if I'm going to start Keenan Allen, okay, this is what I need to have happen. I need them to say he's fully healthy. I need him to say he's fully healthy, and I need the coach to say he's playing a full complement of snaps. I need to hear all those things, and I don't think I'm hearing all those things.
Well, he hasn't practiced in 2 weeks.
And not that he needs to, but this offense is not the same without Justin Herbert. It's just not the same. And I think you said this earlier, and it was kind of a throwaway line, but I totally agree with it. The Chargers have quit. They've quit. And you can make an argument, and I'm not saying this is true, but you can make an argument that Keenan Allen said, screw this, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
You can make that. I don't know if that's the case, but you can. And maybe things change with the new coach and everyone's rah-rah and fired up, but the Chargers are awful right now. And I just, as bad as is lacking, I should say, as the ceiling is with Godwin, despite a 100-yard game, he's a 550 guy. He's going to return to being a 550 guy. I think at this point of the week, you got to go Godwin.
Okay. A lot of questions. Again, if we can't get to your particular question here on the show, Discord is a great spot to go to. Ray's going to be in there throughout the day checking in. We've got people 24/7 in effect that are helping you with some of these decisions. And certainly for Thursday night football, you're going to want to jump in there. Make sure you read Ryan's column. It's all available to our FG subscribers. Okay, we'll break away from the American football for just a bit. Give you some European, specifically English football. In fact, later today at 3 o'clock Eastern, we got our first match of game week 18. And the matches and the fixtures come hot and heavy now with the holidays. The EPL just constantly bombards you with games. It's like crazy NFL on steroids with games. We got game weeks slamming into each other. We've got some teams playing, some teams not. We've got quick turnarounds, all of that. Let's get you ready for the week. Ani Sridhar is back with us here on Fantasy Sports Daily. Ani, it is a pleasure to see you. And like I said, this is where you earn your dollars, baby, because things get busy over the next 3 to 4 game weeks, don't they?
Yeah, it's pretty insane, Kyle. We've got a game week that ends on Sunday and then another one that kicks back up the day after Christmas, as the in UK they say Boxing Day. So
Yes.
that's they're back to back, and then the next weekend. So that's 3 straight game weeks within the span of 7 days. So
yeah,
it's pretty
so it's going to be pretty crazy, pretty wild. And hey, just like the NFL, there are injuries to be concerned about. We'll talk about some of those. We should note that Man City is off in this game week. They are blanking, if you will. Not going to be a part of this game week, which will lead to a question I've got in a bit. But I do want to start with the big showdown this week, which is Liverpool against Arsenal. I think it's 12:30 Eastern on Saturday. These are the top 2 teams that are facing off. I don't want to speak for everybody, Ani, but I've got 3 guys from Arsenal. I think I have 3 from Liverpool. A lot of times I'd see this matchup and you'd say, well, I don't like this matchup for this guy. I wonder, are you benching any of these guys? Like, I actually looked at my lineup this morning. I might be benching a couple of Arsenal players. I might be sitting Gabriel on defense and then Martinelli in my midfield. I'm playing Mo Salah. I'm playing Trent Alexander-Arnold. But the idea of benching these guys because, the showdown, does that make sense to you, or are most of these guys going to be in your lineup?
Yeah, I've got Saka, Salah, and Trent in my lineup. I have Ben White on my bench, however, because I do not expect a clean sheet from either team here. So Trent is going to potentially get you assists or even goals, which is why he's fine for me in the defense, even though we are looking for clean sheets. But yeah, Ben White, Gabriel, Virgil van Dijk, if you have him, probably bench players for me in this contest.
Darwin Nunez? If anybody still owns him anymore.
It's going to be very interesting to see how Klopp comes out with the lineup this weekend, right? They had that 0-0 draw against Man United last weekend. Offense was super stagnant, but in the midweek against West Ham, it was pretty interesting. They had Nunez on the left wing, and they almost played Gakpo in kind of a false 9, which really, jump-started this Liverpool attack. So if Klopp goes back to that, Nunez could be a sneaky play here.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are frustrated with the lack of returns from Darwin Nunez. Before we leave this game, I know you love the wagering side, and there's a big showdown over the holiday weekend. Any particular calls on this matchup between Liverpool and Arsenal from the wagering side of things?
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be playing the over 3.5 in this contest because hear this stat. The last time these 2 teams played at Anfield, which is at Liverpool, where the total went under 3.5 was 2012.
Wow.
So 10 straight years when these 2 teams have played at Liverpool, the total has gone over 3.5. So we do expect to see goals in this matchup. So I'll be playing the over 3.5, and Mo Salah, anytime goal or assist, comes out to plus 105. Which is juicy because if Liverpool to score, we expect him to be involved.
If you're a casual soccer fan, I would recommend you tune in Saturday afternoon for that. I believe it's on NBC. I would think it is. Let's see.
Yeah,
I think NBC or USA, one of the two.
yeah.
So you should be able to find it. But that's a 12:30 kickoff. Liverpool and Arsenal, again, those two teams, as well as some others jockeying for the top spot on the table. Now, one last thing that kind of deals with this match. Every week, Ani, we have to name a captain for our season-long play. And for the last, I don't know, 3 years, it's either been Mo Salah or Erling Haaland almost every single week. 90% of the time, it's those guys. Haaland's not playing this week. Mo Salah has the matchup with Arsenal. If people are fading those two as a captain, who are some other names you're looking at to get the armband?
I think a pretty easy one for me here is Ollie Watkins, striker for Aston Villa. They got Sheffield United at home on Friday. So that is tomorrow afternoon. We've got Aston Villa and Sheffield, and he's going to be my captain play this week with Mo Salah, with vice captain band there. I took Nico Jackson last week, paid off for me. He got a goal. He got me 12 points. While Mo Salah, burned people who, captained. I know people that triple captained Mo Salah, so that definitely didn't work out for them. And I don't hate captaining Salah, to be honest. Like I said, I expect goals in this contest, and I think he's going to be involved. So it's not a complete fade for me like it was kind of last week to get different, but I do like Ollie Watkins a lot as captain.
You mentioned Villa, and Ollie Watkins has been a perennial pick. Most everybody has him up front. This week with that matchup against Sheffield United, a lot of people are excited about the Villains and trying to get 3 pieces. And Leon Bailey has really popped in the midfield. He's only 5.6. I know everybody's talking up Bailey. Are you kind of joining the chorus, if you will, for this game week?
Not exactly. Bailey was, pretty involved last weekend, but I think that's kind of because Douglas Luiz didn't play. So now that Aston Villa gets Douglas Luiz back, I think Bailey's stock should go down a little bit. I have Luiz in my lineup. He's been probably one of the best midfielders in the Prem and for Villa this season. So I prefer Luiz to Bailey here.
Okay. Bailey's popular this week. So is Richarlison with Tottenham. They're up against Everton. I think that's a Saturday match for Spurs. Yeah. Richarlison, this is a guy that runs really hot and cold, and it's been that way for years. And some people can't stand him. Some people are more than happy to ride a hot streak. I'm kind of bailing on the idea. For whatever reason, I'm fearing Everton. I don't know why, but I kind of think they're rather tight defensively. And Richarlison, I've watched way too many Spurs matches, Ani, to get too excited about him, because just when you're sold, something goes haywire, it feels like, with him all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he's on a great streak right now. And hey, look, it's a revenge game, right, for Richarlison here. He's going to try to show Everton, look, I'm gone, but I'm as good as I was when I was on your squad. I don't hate Richarlison here on the spot, but like you said, he's hot and cold. Everton are bottom of the table, but you got to look at, if you take away the, point deduction, you give them the 10 points back, they're fighting for a top 6 spot. And that's a decision that could get overturned at any point during the season, which we've seen in different leagues. When Juventus got it last year, it got reversed. And next thing you know, Juventus is in the top 3 in their Serie A table. So I think Everton are a lot better than if you just look at the table because of the deduction. They've been playing pretty good footy. But Big Ange, baby, he will stick to that attacking mindset no matter who he plays. And I don't hate Richarlison. I don't have him in my lineup. I prefer the likes of, Cole Palmer, Anthony Gordon, Douglas Luiz. So I can't really fit him in there. But I wouldn't say go off him completely. He could still score here.
That Everton-Tottenham matchup is 10 a.m. on Saturday. Ani will have the main slate write-up on Saturday morning. I think there's 4 matches in that 10 o'clock window. So Ani's going to be breaking down all of those. Column will be up at fantasyguru.com come Saturday morning. He'll be in Discord when lineups come out an hour beforehand to help you with any lineup decisions, and should be a fun one. One last thing, and we don't talk goalkeepers very often, but obviously you got to have one in Fantasy Premier League. And a couple of the popular guys, I was looking at this today, in terms of ownership, they're 2 of the top 5. Alphonse Areola of West Ham and Matt Turner of Nottingham. Again, ownership is pretty high on these two, but both of them kind of seem to be on the outs. And I know a lot of people have been holding them, using them maybe as a backup, even a starter in their goalkeeper spot. Now that their roles seem to have changed for the worse, what goalkeepers do you like making a move to? Moving away from Turner and maybe moving away from Areola?
Yeah, it's pretty easy for me, and I got pretty lucky that I already had this guy on my bench, and that's Martin Dubravka of Newcastle. He's only 4.2. I got him when he was 4.0, which is nice, like a little extra juice there for when I have to sell back some players to get Haaland back in my lineup. But Dubravka, they've got Luton Town this week, great matchup, and then they got Nottingham Forest the week after that. And after that, you got Liverpool. So ideally, you get 2 clean sheets and then maybe rack up some saves against Liverpool there. And Newcastle out of Champions League, so not a lot of tired legs anymore. Out of the Carabao Cup after they lost to Chelsea in the midweek. So Newcastle's focus is now strictly going to be on Premier League.
Okay, Dubravka's the call. They will be up against Luton Town, as you said. They are also in that main slate window on Saturday. Again, the game week starts today, 3 o'clock Eastern. I think 1:30 is the roster lock if you're playing season-long FPL. And again, we'll get through Sunday, and we'll take Christmas Day off, and then another game week starts on Tuesday. And then following that, another game week will start the next Saturday. So busy times, fun times if you're an English Premier League fan. Ani, we'll let you run. Thanks a ton for the visit. Great to see you again. Happy holidays to you and your family, and we'll talk soon.
Yep, you too, Kyle. Happy holidays.
Ani Sridhar joining us again. Check out his column coming Saturday morning, fantasyguru.com, part of our soccer coverage. Yes, soccer, hockey, basketball, all covered here at fantasyguru.com. And yes, indeed, even baseball is covered. Ray Flowers kind of fronting that spear, if you will, of the baseball coverage. And in closing, Ray, we should mention that it looks like the San Diego Padres have their new closers. They've gone to Japan for this. Yuki Matsui, 4 years, $21 million, 326 saves over in Japan, Ray. He's a left-hander, but it sounds like he's been added to be the main guy in the 9th inning for the Padres this year.
A lot of saves for a 28-year-old, right? He's a little guy. He's like 5'8", 170. And this is not Billy Wagner too. So I think there's some concern about, obviously there's always concern about the transition to the big leagues, but I think there's some concerns about, where does he fit in the pecking order? He's not likely to be someone that approximates what they got with Josh Hader. He might get the save total, right? But the way he'll go about doing that will be much different. Splitter's his best pitch, pretty good slider too. And he looks like someone that should have success in the 9th inning without necessarily being a dominating arm.
Padres still in the process of really piecing together their pitching staff. The hitters, even without Soto, they've got a pretty solid lineup. But in terms of pitching, starters and relievers, a lot of moves to be done with the Padres as they cut a lot of salary. A team that does not really cut salary is the Mets. And not that they added a ton, but they did make a trade yesterday. Adrian Hauser and Tyrone Taylor going from Milwaukee to the Mets. The Brewers, who I don't want to say they're in a full-fledged rebuild, but they're certainly retooling and kind of cutting some money. They bring in a prospect, Coleman Crow, who's coming off Tommy John surgery. So, nothing immediate that Milwaukee is getting back. But Hauser and Taylor, Ray, have always kind of been on the periphery of being something in fantasy. It's never really clicked for either guy. Maybe it's a bit better with Hauser. He's had bad luck with injuries and such. And for Taylor, the problem is he can't find a team that will make him an outfielder. He's always the 4th or 5th guy on every team, and he'll probably be that guy for the Mets again this season. Yeah,
there's a lot of teams really, like we're seeing it too. The Braves do it. They're just selling players off. It's just a weird time in baseball. Matt Carpenter, they added and hoping to trade him. They couldn't. They just ate the money. The Mets, I think, obviously came out ahead in this deal. We'll see what it means in the fantasy space. I think I think there's a path if the Mets don't do anything, and what is the likelihood of that? There's a path to Taylor being in the daily lineup. I don't think that's likely to happen. I agree with you, Kyle. I think that there's split stuff here too. One bonus, if you call it that, even though it's bad luck, Ronnie Mauricio, the youngster, potential superstar for the Mets, obviously tore his ACL. So he's out of the mix, which could potentially open up some work for Taylor. But I would anticipate that the Mets would look at him the same way you just suggested, as a 4th, 5th outfielder, so to make a move to to add someone else because DJ Stewart and Tyrone Taylor, I mean, okay, but doesn't really sound like a team that's trying to win their division.
Mets assumed to be one of those teams waiting on Yamamoto's decision. Yankees are in there. Certainly the Phillies are involved in that. The Dodgers are willing to go $300 million. We expect that decision probably by Christmas. So maybe in the next 3 or 4 days. There was a report yesterday that everybody needed to have their offers in, and they were going to take a look at them over the coming days. So that signing could happen at any moment, and maybe that will jostle some other things free. Guys like Bellinger, guys like Hader, guys like Snell. Maybe they can then get their contracts. Even Jordan Montgomery kind of waiting around to see where Yamamoto ends up. Ray, we will be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. I'm sure we'll be crazy busy. We had a lot of back and forth with the chat room. Great stuff from all you guys there. We tried to get to as many questions as possible as we talk football. Tonight, we've got the Saints and the Rams. Again, Ryan Clifford's DFS column is up and available at fantasyguru.com. He will be in Discord. Ray will be in Discord. Follow the practice reports. If you can't catch them all today, no fear. Ray and I will be here tomorrow to tell you the latest on what we got, 20 dudes who are kind of following. Yeah. It's a growing list, I think, by the hour, by the moment. Ray, we will do it tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight. There is no NFL tomorrow, so that's good news, I guess. And then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday comes at us hot and heavy. So, Ray, I bid you adieu. Can't wait to see what you pull out of the closet tomorrow, and we'll talk then, okay?
We'll see if I can live up to your expectations tomorrow, Kyle.
Yeah, he is the man in the spirit. He's got the Christmas spirit. Just look at him. Ray Flowers, I'm Kyle Elfrink. Big thank you to everybody, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, podcast, wherever. Sign up, subscribe to the podcast, hit us up with a 5-star review. We love that. We will catch you tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here. Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.